is a story about a time in my life. Sorry about the BART train. So, once upon a time, I was visited by a demon. I use air quotes because I don't think that I know 100% for sure whether that's what it was or if I was just totally psychotic, out of my mind, hallucinating, crazy, whatever. But either way, it was a very real experience to me. And I would just like to share how I dealt with that and overcame it. It's really simple, actually. At first I was terrified. At first I was afraid. I was petrified. Yeah, I could feel it. It followed me everywhere. It was huge. Huge. I couldn't see it really. What I could see was a disturbance in the air around it. So if you imagine what like a heat wave looks like on the highway, how it like ripples, that's what it looked like to me. I don't know. Again, I don't know. I'm not an expert on the paranormal or demonology, but it felt, it didn't feel like a good presence at all. It felt like a dark presence. And my first reaction was to pray. I started saying the Our Father over and over again. I eventually left the house and went and stayed with a coworker, thinking that might, help if I was just freaking out in my head. But it followed me there, which in retrospect I feel really bad about if it was something real that I brought there. But I don't think that it seemed very personal, like it was there for me, like about me. And I basically didn't sleep or take a shower for days, just trying to, I couldn't go back to the house because the presence was stronger at the house. In fact, I had been away from home for 3 days. I hadn't, no clean clothes, I hadn't taken a shower. I had been sleeping at different coworkers' houses, telling them that I was having like relationship trouble or whatever. And when I went back to the house to try to get clothes or take a shower, I noticed outside the front door was a huge dead frog, bloated on its back. There was no, there were no wounds visible or anything like that. But it did look bloated. It was on its back and it was dead. And right next to it was a bunch of toadstools, like mushrooms, big huge mushrooms that had not been there 3 nights prior. Had been raining a lot, so they probably sprung up in the rain. But when I opened the door to go into the house, oh my god, I feel like, no, okay. So when I opened the door to go into the house, I just heard this, heard and sort of felt like this very low key, low rumbling. It almost sounded mechanical, like woo, 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 but like super low and super huge, and not of this, nothing that, it was clearly nothing normal. Like, it wasn't like the washing machine or something. Like, I felt this presence and this energy, and I couldn't step further than maybe 3 footsteps into the house. And so I don't want to get too caught up in this. This goes on and on for a long time, but I don't want to get too caught up into what was supposedly like its purpose, like art and my interactions with it or whatever, besides this which is what eventually saved me. Here's a train again. Okay, so I had, at this point I was like desperate. I mean, had already been desperate, but like at this point, like I was now living in another town, like 3 hours away, and it was still following me around, and it would poke me in the back as I was walking. Like, anywhere that I would walk, it would follow behind me and like poke me in the back. And anyways, it just occurred to me that I had heard this saying, like, love your demons, and I know that that does not mean to like love actual demons in the way that we use that phrase. It's about like loving our inner demons, whatever that means. But sorry, I don't know, this suddenly became about my hair, but I was like, well, I could try that, like, literally. I could take that advice literally and try to like love this thing. And I know this sounds insane. I mean, I think it is actually insane. But so I started to like let it know that I loved it and that I wanted it to be happy and that I wanted it to find I don't really remember what I said, it was so long ago, but I think just like I just kept telling it, like, you can like go towards the light again and you can be forgiven, like if there's anything you've done, like you can this or that. I don't remember, like I said, but I just tried to show it love and like tell it that I loved it and like be real though, like not fake. And I know how this sounds, but I kid you not, it got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, to where it was like the size of like, it was like this big, and it still followed me around. But at this point I could actually make out like characteristics of it, and it looked like a tiny alien, kind of, with like alien slash robot, or not robot, but like it looked kind of like it had a metal armor on, but it was little. And it also, as it became physically smaller, it also became more and more childlike. So it just acted like a little kid, and like a little kid that wanted to annoy you. And eventually it just disappeared. And that is how I loved my demon, quite literally, until it went Thank you for listening to my first paranormal story time. And yes, I'm insane, but this did happen to me, like, in my, whether it was my imagination or not, it was real enough to where my brain couldn't tell the difference. So, yeah. Either way, it's a good metaphor. If you don't believe in that sort of thing, it's still a good metaphor about, like, how love can overcome anything. And yeah, so thank you for listening, and try to love your demons, I guess, whatever that means. Alright, if you didn't like this video, I'm terribly sorry. If you did like it and you want to hear more paranormal story times from me, give me a thumbs up or leave me a comment so that I know. Otherwise, I probably won't post very many more because it's weird. But there's so much more. Okay, alright, have a nice night and love your demons, guys. Just love them, okay? Love your demons, yes! Bye.